SDG 15 Life on Land aims to protect and preserve terrestrial ecosystems as well as promote the sustainable use of raw materials harvested from them. These ecosystems are responsible for maintaining the quality of soil and regulation of water and erosion, which in turn reduces the risk of floods and landslides. Most of all, terrestrial ecosystems provide habitats for a diverse number of species found within the country. This goal recognizes that the loss of biodiversity and degradation of terrestrial ecosystems pose significant threats to food security, human health, and the provision of ecosystem services that support economic and social development. With this, SDG 15 is essential for the attainment of other sustainable development goals such as SDG 1, SDG 2, and SDG 3.
Biodiversity or biological diversity refers to the variety of life that can be observed on Earth. It encompasses all living beings or organisms, including both the endangered and extant species. Biodiversity then starts at the species level, to the communities created by these species, to the bigger and vast ecosystems we are a part of. It functions as an essential component in the maintenance of ecological balance and ecosystem processes, as well as contribute to the regulation of climate, the mitigation of climate change, the provision of clean air and water, and the maintenance of soil fertility. The interconnection and interaction of all life on Earth is able to provide what we all need for survival and more. As such, without the bees pollinating the plants, we cannot acquire fruits. If there were no plants, no oxygen could be provided for us. All creatures benefit from biodiversity. For humans, we can even obtain new medicines harvested from nature to fight against diseases and continue to thrive on Earth. Despite its importance, biodiversity is under threat due to human activities that have detrimental impacts. Here are some examples of which that were emphasized by the United Nations report on nature's unprecedented dangerous decline and on the accelerating species extinction rates. 33% of marine fish stocks in 2015 are being harvested at unsustainable levels. Up to 1 million species are threatened with extinction, and many of which are observed within the recent decades. More than 30% of amphibian species are threatened with extinction, and almost 33% of reef-forming corals, sharks and shark relatives, and more than 33% of marine mammals are threatened with extinction. 25% of the average proportion of species are threatened with extinction across terrestrial, freshwater, and marine vertebrate, invertebrate, and plant groups. 23% of land areas that have seen a reduction in productivity are due to land degradation. At least 680 vertebrate species are driven to extinction by human action since the 16th century, and around 25% of greenhouse gas emissions are caused by land clearing, crop production, and fertilization, with animal-based food contributing 75% of that figure. These are only some of the reported data. To address these and the loss of biodiversity and promote its conservation, a range of solutions are needed at multiple levels, including individual, community, and policy levels. Therefore, here are some solutions to be considered in preventing the worsening of the loss of biodiversity. We can establish and expand protected areas to provide habitats for different species. Habitat restoration could also be done where ecosystems are rebuilt and biodiversity would be supported. Land use of the people should be accomplished in a sustainable manner like agroforestry to reduce the impact of human activities on biodiversity. Likewise, the practice of sustainable use of natural resources should also be observed, such as in fishing and hunting, so that conservation of fisheries and wildlife population is achieved. Of course, these are possible through educating and raising the awareness of individuals, communities, and policymakers on the importance of biodiversity and the impact of human activities on ecosystems, which can help encourage conservation efforts and promote sustainable behaviors. These are also further established by our governments and leaders by implementing policies and regulations that promote such practices.
Forests cover 30% of the Earth's land surface.
They contribute to helping people survive and prosper by, for instance, cleansing the water and air and giving them jobs. A total of 13.2 million people worldwide work in the forest industry, and another 41 million have employment that is related to it. Additionally, more than 75% of all terrestrial life on Earth lives in forests. They are also essential in the fight against climate change as they serve as a carbon sink and absorb carbon dioxide, which contributes to a continuing change in climate patterns. However, these advantages are in jeopardy since forests all over the world are at risk and disappearing at a startling rate. Following the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the globe has lost more than 420 million hectares of forest since 1990, mostly in Africa and South America. 13 million hectares of forest are lost each year, and a total of 3.6 billion hectares of land have become desertified as a result of the ongoing deterioration of drylands, which disproportionately affects impoverished populations. The two main threats to forests are deforestation and forest degradation. The primary cause of deforestation is agriculture and infrastructure, while the primary cause of forest degradation is illegal logging. If nothing is done and the current pattern continues, 11 of the world's most ecologically significant forest landscapes will contribute to more than 80% of all worldwide forest loss by 2030. There might also be a loss of up to 420 million acres of forest in these deforestation fronts between 2010 and 2030. To prevent this from happening, there are many possible ways to help end deforestation and forest degradation, such as promoting sustainable choices, raising awareness, and supporting organizations that fight deforestation. Promoting sustainable choices leads to sustainable forestry, wherein the forest satisfies societal demands for forest resources while maintaining their availability for present and future generations. Sustainable choices on a daily basis include consuming less, eliminating single-use packaging, eating sustainably, and deciding to buy recycled or ethically sourced wood items. Raising awareness by informing your friends, family, and neighborhood on how human activity daily affects forests all around the world also has an important role in reducing deforestation, as lack of awareness and understanding is one of the major contributing factors to significant environmental issues like deforestation. Moreover, there are numerous organizations who can support, both globally and locally, that work to stop deforestation and employ sustainable forestry techniques. This forestry method entails planting trees, extracting timber, clearing land, and conserving forest.
Over the years, having companions or pets has become the norm for nearly every Filipino household. However, as the number of said domesticated animals increase, the population of stray cats and dogs wandering the streets also increases. In 2019, the Philippine Animal Welfare Society has estimated that there are at least 12 million strays in the country. Most of them were once family pets who were abandoned, each with varying reasons. Most of the time, it would be that they no longer had the capacity to provide proper care for the animal, especially if the said pet is sick. Stray animals, especially those abandoned due to sickness, may cause harm as they spread diseases not only to other strays, but to pets and humans. Seeing as rabies, responsible for nearly 300 individual deaths per year, can be passed through bites. However, these animals are defenseless and are at risk of getting hurt, be it by wild animals or traffic accidents. And in certain situations, these vulnerable animals are also targeted by cruel individuals. More often than not, the animals being abandoned are not neutered or spayed, and are reproducing at an almost uncontrollable rate. The lack of proper impounding systems in the country led people to contact the Philippine Animal Welfare Society to surrender these animals, only to be turned down, as PAWS only accepts animals that are victims of cruelty and abuse. While each city has a pound or a shelter, surrendering a pet to them is equal to sentencing them to death, as there are very few, if any, willing to adopt strays. There is also no guarantee that the animal will receive a humane death, as most pounds still adhere to old, albeit inhumane methods. One of the most encouraged methods to help is to adopt homeless animals rather than buying from a breeder or from shops. This gives said animal another chance at a good life, safe from the dangers lurking in the streets. However, there are certain questions that one must ask themselves when in the process of rescuing a stray animal. The overall physical health of the animal. The owner must be responsible for taking it to the veterinary clinic and have it checked by a professional before proceeding to take it home. There are high chances of the animal being a carrier of disease and spreading it to other pets that may already be at home. The veterinarian can clearly assess the animal's condition and provide the proper care as well as the immunizations it may need before being allowed to interact with other members of the household. If the rescuer does decide against keeping the animal for the rest of his life, they may opt to foster. It has nearly the same requirements and tasks as rescuing. However, it will only be for a temporary period of time until the animal is stable enough, both physically and behaviorally, to be taken to a new family who do plan on making it a member of its household. It is highly encouraged that pet owners have their pets spayed or neutered. Neutering or spaying leads to the female not going into heat and reduce their need to roam around. It has also many health benefits, preventing various diseases that may spread to other animals, domesticated or otherwise. Additionally, there are various voluntary animal rescue operations and foundations all across the country. They are non-governmental organizations, relying solely on the donations and manpower from many volunteers. One of the most well-known being the Philippine Animal Welfare Society, though as of now they have reported to being at full capacity and can no longer take any more stray animals. However, they are still offering veterinary services to those in need.